Coming up on this episode of the Hockey Nuts, Steve and I recap all of the news from the past week, including what happened this week at the GM meetings and the Las Vegas signing of their first ever player. Playoff races are in full swing, and the teams that still have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs is continuing to decline. We'll discuss where every team stands. We'll also discuss the other headlines of the week in a busy week of action around the hockey world. We'll have all the details, plus some college hockey playoff talk, the KHL playoff minute, and our picks of the week coming up next. This is the Hockey Nuts Podcast, Season 1, Episode 30, recorded on Saturday, March 11th, 2017. GM Meetings Recap.
Shut up and sit down.
Through the middle, this way for Teuvo Teravainen. Teravainen addresses it, his shot, shielded by Raanta, popped out. Mark Stahl, along the boards, wedged by Lindholm, a good play. Sebastian Aho takes it away now, draws it away from Ryan McDonough. Inside and deep, Elias Lindholm in back of the goal. At the half wall, Teuvo Teravainen. Back again for Falk, he'll walk the line, a wrister, tipped, and Raanta said no. Chance for Stahl, a chance in front, Aho! Bangs it home! Hey, what do you say? Carolina with a 4-3 lead.
The boards, L Ott, and Victor Hedman would step out on him. Back to L Ott. Andre L Ott carries in with speed. Shot it wide as he was being checked by McDonough. Off the boards, McDonough's got it to Zibanejad. He's in! He scores! Mika Zibanejad wins it in overtime!
Provorov off of Riley Nash's stick. Filppula twists the backhand around. Rask taps to Chara. It's off a leg, bounces right in front. Kevin Miller steers it over to Stafford. Last chance of regulation here. Stafford cruising in. Keeps it on the forehand. Deflects and scores! Drew Stafford with a winner with 5.6 to go! Philadelphia stick, and in a situation in which every single point is precious to the Flyers, who are chasing a playoff position, this is a heartbreaking setback.
Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Hockey Nuts Podcast. My name is Wayne. I'm here with Steve. How's it going again this week, Steve?
Going good, Wayne. Going good. Thanks for getting this thing a couple days later and getting it together. Scheduling difficulties have all gone away.
Yeah, we normally record on Wednesday night, but tonight it's actually Saturday night. So, we're a few days late. Steve had some commitments on some nights, and I had other commitments on other nights, and we just couldn't do it until tonight. But here we are, Saturday night. Yeah. We're unable to live stream this show tonight. There was some problem with the YouTube servers on their end that they're not accepting live feeds for whatever reason tonight. So I don't know. I didn't really have time to research too much into it, what was going on. But either way, we're doing this live to tape, and we'll put up the video, of course, onto YouTube as normal. It'll just be done after the fact. But anyway, enough about all that technical stuff. We got a ton to talk about this week.
Yes, we do.
And I've got a few headlines here that I will just do a quick group of headlines of what we're going to be talking about and more. First and foremost, playoff races are starting to become more clear. Secondly, Vegas Golden Knights have their first player ever. The Tampa Bay Lightning lost 3 centers in one game. Actually, and I think in one period. Also, the GM meetings were held this week, and we'll have the details of what happened down in Boca Raton, Florida. And we'll also take a look at the upcoming expansion draft. We'll see how we think things will shake out there. And finally, playoffs are already underway in the NCAA and the KHL, so we'll get you all up to date with everything that's going on there. So we've got a lot going on. But we're going to start out talking about our 3 teams that we cover the most. And, of course, I don't know, let's go ahead and start with the Carolina Hurricanes. They've had the most troublesome week of the 3 teams that we follow.
Yes.
First and foremost. Now, of course, since it's been, 10 days now since we last recorded, we got a lot of games to catch up on. So
Yes, we do.
Going back to the first, the Carolina Hurricanes got a 4-3 overtime loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They had a 4-2 loss against Arizona, and that was a home game on the 3rd. And then they flew out to Arizona and beat them 2-1 on their turf on the 5th. And then a 3-1 loss at Colorado on the 7th. And then they finally got a win. Unfortunately, it was against your New York Rangers.
Yeah.
A 4-3 win versus the New York Rangers just the other night.
Yes. Whoa. Let me tell you. I was bummed at the game, and I was bummed most of the day yesterday.
Those are games you can't drop if you're in a playoff hunt.
That's right. You're absolutely right about that, Wayne. But I don't know if you want to talk about that game, or you want to.
You might as well. We'll roll right into it.
It was the 3rd game of a 4-game road trip. We won the first 2 in Florida. So we beat Tampa Bay on the 6th. We beat them in overtime, 1-0. And then we beat Florida on the 7th, 4-3. 5-2. But we were winning that game in Carolina. In case I don't know if you watched that game. With about 10 minutes to go in the game, we were ahead 3-2. And then a young rookie took control of that game for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yep.
And I was very impressed.
I didn't actually see the game. I was on the road that night. I don't know. Well, yeah, I was texting back and forth with you. I was on my way to Greensboro to pick up my daughter. She's coming home for spring break from college, so I had to go to the bus stop in Greensboro to go pick her up.
Yeah.
But I had the game on the radio, and I was listening, so...
I was very, very impressed.
And the game was going back and forth. I mean, the Canes had the lead for a while, and then Rangers had the lead, and then...
Yeah, and then Sebastian Aho took a shot from about 3 feet from the blue line and ripped it. I don't even think Antti Raanta saw it. I mean, he ripped it. He was hit by one of the Carolina Hurricanes players, and there was a coach's challenge on the play, but I didn't think he was interfered with, and it was really quite a shot, and that really changed the tide of the game, the momentum and everything. And a couple of minutes later, he scored again. So he had 2 goals in the night, 4-3. They won, and I was very impressed with him. And the Hurricanes won that game. What can I say?
Yep.
It's a game you shouldn't lose when you're in the playoff hunt, but if you're playing 4 games on the road in the NHL and you can win 3 of them, you're doing pretty good. So we need to beat Detroit tomorrow, and I think that covers our side of things for now, anyways. So what the Rangers are doing and what they're up to.
Yeah, and unfortunately, well, for Carolina, I think we talked about it last week. I think I said on the show last week that if Carolina wants any chance of making the playoffs, they had to run the table this week, particularly against the Tampa Bay, who's been struggling, Arizona for 2, and Colorado, and they ended up losing all those games. Well, no, they ended up
won 1 game against Arizona.
Right, they split Arizona, lost to Colorado. You can't be doing that if you want any shot at making the playoffs. So, so Carolina is falling further and further back in the pack, and as are a bunch of teams, and we'll get to the standings, in a bit, but. They're falling further and further back. I mean, they pretty much saw the writing on the wall at the trade deadline. They became sellers. They moved out Ron Hainsey, and they move out any others? I can't remember. I know Hainsey was the biggest name to leave Carolina, and they certainly didn't do any buying at the trade deadline. So Carolina will miss the playoffs again for the 8th straight year. 2009 season. 2009 season was the last time they were in. So
yep.
Do the math, whatever that is.
That's 8 years.
Yeah, but But they're still very, very hopeful. Next year, they're going to be a pretty good team. They got a lot of talent coming up through the system, and next year they're going to be a team to watch. They're going to be a team on the rise for sure.
Well, Sebastian Aho is very, very good.
Yeah. He's the future.
He's a very good player.
He's the future of that team offensively. Yeah. They just need a couple more guys up front to help put the puck in the net. That's been their biggest struggle this year is offense. So. All right, well, let's move on to the Rangers. Since you've already talked about one game, you might as well take care of the rest of them.
We had a 2-1 win against Boston, at Boston, on the 2nd, and then turned around on the 4th and got whooped by the Montreal Canadiens, 4-1. So you couple that with our 3-game road trip that I talked to you about, we winning 2 of those and losing 1, we wound up 3-2 for the week.
Yep.
And we're playing good. The power play was really struggling until Thursday night against Carolina. I believe all 3 goals that we scored were power play goals. So there'll be some pickup there. But there's, the Rangers they're in injury problems right now, and they need to get their team healthy again before the playoffs. So that's pretty much it. I don't want to take away from what you have to say on Boston, but.
Well, since you brought up Boston, let's talk about the game that the Rangers played the Boston Bruins there. There was of course, you and I met at our local Buffalo Wild Wings. We went to talk some hockey while watching our 2 favorite teams play each other.
There you go.
And we had that little play in the 3rd period. Was it the 3rd period where David Backes, as Rangers fans would say, ran over Henrik Lundqvist?
Oh yeah.
Bruins fans would say Lundqvist kind of leaned into that one to try to draw a penalty. And there was a lot of debate online after that game, in the day or two after that game, that Bruins fans were livid because it ended up being a turning point in the game to some respect, and the fact that Lundqvist kind of leaned in there to try to draw that penalty, and he sold the penalty well. They gave the Rangers a power play on that, and you and I debated it at the restaurant.
Oh boy, I remember that.
Yeah.
He might have leaned into him a little bit there. And looking at the replay, I'll say it like that.
Yep.
He may have.
But hey,
I don't know.
Whatever you got to do to win, right?
Yeah, he's a competitor. He's a competitor. He wanted to win that game very, very badly.
And I saw he got hurt too, huh? Not on that play, but
he did not play in the Hurricanes game the other night. Antti Raanta was in net, and I walked in there, and I did just like you said, Wayne. I walked down to the ice where the team was practicing. Oh, was that fun?
Oh yeah.
While I'm down, you go down there. There was maybe 100 Rangers fans down there watching the warm-ups.
Yeah, if you don't get in right when the doors open, you're not going to get up against the glass. You'll be 2 or 3 rows back. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you can get up. There was no way we could get up to the glass, and we were there a little bit before. But anyways, so I'm looking around for Lundqvist, and we look out there, and they have Brandon Halverson on there. I see Halverson with 76 or whatever his numbers is on the ice, and I'm like, what is going on? So I asked the closest Rangers fan, and he said, oh, you haven't heard? Lundqvist is hurt. Now, the gentleman told me it was day-to-day, but that injury has since been updated. It's 2 to 3 weeks he's out with a lower body injury.
I think that came out today, didn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't have that on my injury notes, so we might as well talk about it right now about that injury. So, because it did just come out today, and I didn't update my notes to include stories that happened today. So.
Right.
But yeah, so it sounds like he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks now.
2 to 3 weeks. It's a lower body injury. And I guess he suffered it in the Florida game.
Oh, okay.
Now, when he got that injury, and that's a guess, unless it was in a practice, when he got that injury is still not clear. But he wasn't in the game. Of course, we have several other players that are injured and not in the games. Rick Nash is day-to-day. He was not in the game. We thought we were expecting to see Rick Nash. Kevin Klein is day-to-day, and Dan Girardi is still out 2 to 3 weeks. I may be missing one. Michael Grabner is out. So a good chunk of our team wasn't on the ice that night. And not making excuses, but that did play a part.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, because I just heard it. I think I saw it come across my phone earlier today while I was at work that Lundqvist was 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm like, oh wow. Well, let's hope he gets back for the playoffs for the Rangers' sake. Because without him, you're not getting past the first round. I'm sorry.
No, that's right. You're right. Absolutely right.
Rana's a good goalie and all, but he's no Henrik Lundqvist. So, all right. Well, enough about the Rangers-Bruins game. There were other games that the Bruins played last week. On the 2 nights later, after they lost to the Rangers, they went and beat the Devils, and that was also a home game. They beat them 3-2, and then they went to Ottawa on the 6th and lost to them 4-2. That was a very disappointing loss for me because, when you're chasing a team in your division, you really want to win those games. And I don't know, they just didn't play all that great against Ottawa. I mean, Ottawa's a good team, so you can give them as much credit as you want to. But and then on the 8th, they went out and just owned Detroit 6-1. I mean, there's no other way to describe that game. They jumped out to a 4-0 lead in the first period and never looked back. They just had all, and it was not only the Bruins playing well, but Detroit was just not playing well. They had they made some crucial mistakes, particularly in the first period. That just they coughed up the puck and just the Bruins made them pay pretty much. And then earlier today, of course, it's Saturday night now, and the Bruins played this afternoon. They beat Philadelphia 2-1. And now I haven't seen that game yet. I'm probably going to watch it while I'm doing the editing of the podcast, and I'll watch the replay. But I do know that the Bruins scored with just a few seconds left in regulation to take the 2-1 lead and steal that game away from Philadelphia. So heartbreaking loss for them, but an awesome win for us. Yeah. And I know you're not disappointed because
I'm not disappointed at all when the Philadelphia Flyers lose. That's we have many celebrations all the time over here when that happens. Yeah. So and the Devils too, by the way. I certainly won't wait around for them when trouble hits.
Yeah.
I'm not a Devils fan either. So, but
well, good.
Anyways.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the other notable games that went on this week. Back on the 1st, the Blackhawks beat the Penguins 4-1. I thought that game would have gone a little closer than it did, but a potential preview of the Stanley Cup Final. Subban had his first night back in Montreal, back on the 2nd with the Predators. And they had some ceremonies for him, and there was a lot of video that came out, showing him in tears, and the nice tribute that Montreal did for him, particularly their fans. But the Canadiens did win that game 2-1 in Subban's first game back in Montreal. And also on the 2nd, the Blue Jackets shut out the Wild 1-0, and I watched bits and pieces of that game. And that was a fun game to watch. You would think 1-0 would have been a boring game, but it wasn't. They were going up and down the ice, and they just couldn't. Nobody could score.
Yes.
Again, on the 2nd, the Kings beat the Maple Leafs 3-2 in a shootout. And then on the next night, the Maple Leafs went across town to the Ducks and lost 5-2. So 2 losses right there, back-to-back for the Maple Leafs. And they're trying to catch the Bruins and everybody else above the Bruins to try to get a wild card spot. Those 2 losses really hurt Toronto, and I'm sure Toronto fans would agree on that one. On the 4th, the Senators beat the Blue Jackets 3-2 in a potential, who knows, Eastern Conference final. Can you imagine if that happened? Senators, Blue Jackets in the Eastern Conference. Also on the 4th, the Blackhawks beat the Predators 5-3. Predators have been playing well lately, so I kind of put that one on my calendar as a game to watch. The Wild beat the Sharks on the 5th. That was a pretty good game. I didn't see the game, but I saw highlights of it, and it appeared to be a fun game to watch. Also on the 7th, the Ducks beat the Predators 4-3 in a shootout. So that was a pretty decent game. On the 7th as well, the Blues beat the Wild 2-1. On the 9th, the Flames shut out the Canadiens 5-0. So Montreal had one of those nights that they've had quite a few of those this year where just some nights they just don't show up. Remember the 10-0 game against Columbus?
Columbus Blue Jackets.
Earlier this year.
Yep.
Also on the 9th, the Lightning beat the Wild 4-1, and they're showing signs of, even though they've made a bunch of trades and gotten rid of some of their players, they're showing signs of turning around. And they're actually starting to think that they can make the playoffs down there, which is kind of scary to the Bruins and the Maple Leafs, for that matter. The Ducks and the Blackhawks had a 1-0 game on the 9th. And I also watched bits and pieces of that. And that game was incredible. I mean, that was just two heavyweights just duking it out, and Blackhawks were throwing everything they could at Anaheim, and they just couldn't score. And it just had a playoff atmosphere to that game. I mean, that's the only other way to describe that one. On the 9th, the Kings beat the Predators 3-2 in overtime. That was a pretty good game. Also on the 9th, the Sharks beat the Capitals 4-2. That could be a preview of the Stanley Cup final right there.
Absolutely.
So that seeing the Sharks being able to beat the Capitals is a pretty good sign there. The Sharks have been playing. They seem to be starting to peak at the right time. So the Sharks seem to be getting better and better as the season goes on. And speaking of teams doing that, Penguins beat the Oilers 3-2 in a shootout, and that was last night. And I watched the third period, the overtime, and the shootout. And what a show that Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid put on, particularly in the overtime and the shootout. Both players scored a goal in the shootout, but the Penguins ended up winning 3-2 in the shootout in that one. Also, last night, the Wild beat the Panthers 7-4 in a game that I thought would be pretty good, but turned out it wasn't that good. The Blues also upset the Ducks 4-3 last night. And that was all the games I had circled, unless you had some others.
No, that you covered a bunch of good games, Wayne.
Yeah, there were a lot of good games this week, and got a lot of good ones coming up, and we'll talk about those too later in the show. But there's a lot of good teams playing each other, which is kind of nice for the playoff standings. So, speaking of standings, let's take a quick look at the standings, see where we're at. In the East, you've got Washington still in first place in the Metropolitan Division with 95 points, followed by Columbus with 92 and Pittsburgh with 92. In the Atlantic, your top three is Montreal with 84, Ottawa with 82, and Boston at 78. And then your wild card teams right now are the Rangers with 88 and the Islanders with 75. And then the teams chasing them, you've got Toronto at 74, Tampa Bay at 71, Philadelphia 70, Florida 69, Buffalo 66. Carolina 64, Detroit 63, New Jersey 62. Now, the one thing I've noticed in the East is the standings are starting to spread out a little bit.
Yep.
The teams sitting in wild card right now are 75, and really right now, the only teams I see within reach of the playoffs now in the East is Florida, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. And
right.
In terms of teams that are on the outside looking in.
I agree. I will say this. I think there's going to come a point very soon where Tampa Bay is going to run out of games, literally and figuratively.
Yep.
They're not going to have a chance very soon, and I know they're wanting to think they can make the playoffs. They pretty much got to run the table, Wayne, because we're down to like 15 games, 14 games left for teams.
Yep.
And they're sitting at, how many points did you say, 71?
They're 4 points out of a playoff spot right now.
So they're going to need another, to be safe, I would say they're going to need another 18 points.
Yeah, I think 92 is a bare minimum to get in.
Yeah.
So that's
20 points.
That's 21 points.
They got to win 10 of their games and tie one.
Yep.
Or get a point in one.
Yep. 92 is going to be bare minimum to get in, I think. And that might not even be enough. You might need 93, 94 in the East.
Yep. So that's my personal opinion, but I really think that's you watch. It's going to be it might be 90 points, 89, Wayne. Yep. But let's say it's 89 points, worst case scenario. They got to get 18 points. They got to come up with 9 wins, and there's not a lot of games left.
Yeah, I saw somebody tweeted earlier today, and I'm sorry I forgot who it was. It was a tweet or a headline, and they were looking through Toronto's point of view, and they estimated that Toronto, even they're at 74 and only 1 point out of a playoff spot, would need to go 9-7 the rest of the way to get in.
Yep, and that's that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So when Tampa Bay drops games to the Carolina Hurricanes and drops games to the Arizona Coyotes and stuff like that,
yep,
it really hurts their chances.
And I don't know if you have the standings in front of you.
I don't.
But if you were to pull up the standings, or if you look at it later. If you look at the goal differential category, particularly in the East, all the teams that are on the outside looking in are either at very close to zero or they're like 20 or more goals in the plus-minus categories. And all the teams that are in the playoffs right now, with the exception of the Islanders, they're at 7 or more goals on the plus side. So we've talked about it before, how goal differential is actually a pretty decent indicator of how good a team is. It's beginning to show in the standings right now.
And you that's a very good point. Another thing that you can think about, because I've done this so many years with the Rangers, trust me. Here we are. They keep a column in most newspapers called the last 10, L10.
Yep.
Okay? The next 10 games, and I'm picking Tampa Bay again. If they go 8-2 or 8-1-1, then they're doing what they got to do to get in the playoffs, and that doesn't guarantee them they're going to get in.
Yep.
But that's the kind of hockey they got to play.
And and right now they're sitting at 6-2-2 in that last 10.
Right. That's not good enough.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's how you can look at it. And it's hard when you're a fan to look at it that way. But you have to look at it as we got to play out our minds to get in the playoffs. Because the Islanders and the Bruins, you see the Bruins winning most of their games.
Yeah, 7-3 in their last 10.
Yeah.
And 8-3 under their new coach.
Yep, makes it very tough on a team like Tampa Bay or a team like I would say that Toronto's in the race. Toronto's going to be in it, and they're going to hang on. But Tampa Bay at 71 points, 4 points out, they got to play really, really good hockey to make up those 4 points.
Yep, they certainly do. Yep. Yeah, right now Toronto is 4 points back from Boston for that third spot. And they have 2 games in hand, so they could potentially catch Boston. So Boston's certainly not out of the woods yet, even though they're sitting in that third wild card spot. Because if they drop out of that third spot, they drop out of the playoff picture altogether, almost.
Yep.
So, all right, let's take a look at the West. Central Division, your top 3 teams are Minnesota with 92, Chicago with 89, Nashville 77. Pacific, you got San Jose at 87, Anaheim at 80, Edmonton at 79. Your wild card is Calgary and St. Louis with 78 and 73 points. And your outside teams looking in are Los Angeles at 70, Winnipeg 66, Vancouver 65, Dallas 64, Arizona 54, Colorado 41. Mm-hmm. So pretty clear in the West that it's down to essentially 3 teams battling for 2 wildcard spots in my mind.
Yep, I'd agree with that too.
I think Winnipeg, Vancouver, Dallas, Arizona, Colorado are out of it. In fact, Colorado is officially mathematically eliminated as of today. They're the only team that's mathematically eliminated, but everybody else is realistically eliminated. So that leaves Los Angeles being the only team that can catch the playoff teams, and they are 3 points back of a playoff spot, and they play the same amount of games as St. Louis.
Wow.
So they're in trouble. LA's in big trouble, and their last 10 line reads 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Which obviously is not good enough.
That's right. That's very good, Wayne.
So the West seems to be more clear than the East as to who's getting in, who's getting out. Right now, it's shaping up to look like I don't see the standings changing much. You may see Los Angeles bounce above St. Louis, but I don't see them. They're certainly not going to catch Calgary. They're 8 points back from Calgary as of right now, and there's no way they're going to catch Calgary for that first wild card.
I 100% agree. You're hitting the nail on the head.
And they're 9 points back at Edmonton in their own division, so they're not going to catch them. So their only hope is your Western Conference. The playoffs seem to be locked up as far as who's getting in, with the exception of the St. Louis or L.A. It's going to be one or the other. But right now, I'd be shocked if anyone other than Minnesota, Chicago, Nashville, San Jose, Anaheim, Edmonton, and Calgary, if those 7 teams don't get in, I'll be surprised because those 7 teams are a little bit above the rest of them.
They can go 4-4-2. See? Yeah. You look at Calgary can go 4-4-2, and they might drop a slot, but they're still going to be in the race. You see. Yep. At this time in the season,
but Calgary's won 8 in a row, so I don't see.
Yeah, they're the hottest team in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, though. That's how it is now. It would be okay if we were in the first 30 games of the season, But when you've got 10 or 12 or 15 games to go, and you got to make up 4 points, it's a lot.
Yep, certainly is. All right, well, let's move on. And before we do, though, I want to talk about a little bit about us and a little bit about the podcast. Just take a quick break before we move on to the stories of the week. One of the things I wanted to make an announcement this week is, well, first and foremost, where you can find our show. And obviously, if you're listening to us now, you found the show. But we're basically everywhere. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio. So if you have any of those apps, you can listen to us in those apps. Google Play Music as well. We're on the Android, Apple podcast apps. And our RSS feed is in the show notes. If you want to if you have your favorite app that we haven't mentioned that you listen to podcasts with, you can enter our feed and find us that way. You can find us, you can listen to us right straight from our website at thehockeynuts.com. You can listen to us, our podcast right there. But this week we've just been added to the Hockey Writers podcast channel. And the Hockey Writers, if you haven't been to that website, it's a pretty cool website. They have a lot of writers from around the league that basically every team's got a few writers that covers those teams. So you can read a lot of articles that you won't find anywhere else concerning just the game of hockey. And it's a great site. I use it quite extensively to do research for our show. And they have a podcast channel, or it's a tab on the top of their webpage that has hockey podcasts on it. And we finally got listed on there. I've been trying to get it in there for quite some time now. So we finally got listed on the Hockey Writers podcast channel. And you can listen to the show right there on their website. And they are at thehockeywriters.com if you're not familiar with them. So also, if you want to support the show, there's a number of ways you can do that. The show obviously is a labor of love for us, but it does cost money each and every month for us to produce. So we're currently exploring options to allow you to help us cover the cost of producing it. And for starters, we've set up an affiliate relationship with a couple of different companies. In the future, we may have more, but for now, you can support us through your purchases at Amazon.com and at at HockeyMonkey.com. And if you're not familiar with Hockey Monkey is a hockey equipment provider where you can just buy all your gear, hot sticks, skates, helmets, gloves, all that stuff that you need for playing hockey for you yourself or your children if your children are into playing. So, but any purchases through Amazon or Hockey Monkey, if you go through our affiliate links, they won't cost you a dime extra to purchase there, but a small percentage of your purchase will come back to us. And of course, the money that we use, we will use to help defray the costs of producing this show. And basically, all you need to do in order to support us through our affiliate relationships is just go to our website. We're at thehockeyknuts.com. And over on the right-hand side of the website, you'll find the banners for the different affiliates that we have relationships with. And just click on the banner. That'll take you right to either Amazon or Hockey Monkey, depending on which one you choose. And from then on, for the next, I know in the case of Amazon, it's 24 hours. Any purchases you make will get a small cut, and it's very small cut. It's only a couple of percent, but every little bit counts at this point. And it does help us, like I said, offset the costs of putting the show on. And additionally, we are looking at other ways at directly supporting us through a donation program. We don't have anything to announce there yet. It's something we've been talking about, we've been working on. We haven't set anything up yet, but we are looking at different ways of being able, if anybody who's listening wants to just directly donate, we will be able to do that in the future, just not yet. But other ways, if you can't support us financially through one of the programs that we just mentioned, you can support us through the following ways. You can share our show with other hockey fans that you know. If you have the iTunes app on your computer or device, subscribe to our show through iTunes. That helps us rise up in the rankings there. And, of course, speaking of iTunes, we also encourage you to give us a review, as it will also help us get noticed more there. You can like, comment, and share our content wherever you see us on the various social media pages. I do a lot of tweeting and Facebooking and all that, so you'll see that on there. And finally, get involved with the show. We're always looking for people who want to give us their 2 cents on some of the things. If you agree with us, disagree with us, we like to hear from all the people that are listening, and we do like interacting with the audience. And finally, we're looking for possible guest hosts to come on our show from time to time. So if you feel you can provide more insight onto your favorite team or league than we are, certainly let us know, and we could bring you on for a guest spot on the show. And all you would need technically for coming on the show is a computer with Skype. That's how Steve and I communicate, and that's how we do I handle everything on my end, and that's all you would need if you wanted to come on the show as a guest host. So, and as far as getting in touch with us, the best way to get in touch, or the first way to get in touch with us, would be through our Twitter handles. I'm at Wayne Halley 9. Steve is at SBall504man. You can email the show at feedback@thehockeynuts.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 919-960-1718. Or you could visit us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/thehockeynuts. Or you can go to our YouTube channel. You can watch the streams of our show. And the YouTube channel, I've created a special link for that. It's at www.thehockeynuts.com/YouTube. And of course, we do live stream the show most weeks. This week we're not, because we're having some technical issues on that side. So, all right, that's it for that spiel.
I wanted to say one thing, and that was a lot to make a spiel on.
Yeah.
Wayne, I got to say this. We come on, we have no connections whatsoever to the media. We're 2 fans that get together and talk about the game we love, and that's really all we are. But you are truly a brilliant guy. You really are. And I'm going to give a pitch for you again, because a lot of this stuff is over my head, but you are really something else. And for those of you listening out there to our program each week, we're so thankful for the many listeners we have. But Wayne, you're a brilliant guy. You do a lot of work behind the scenes, and I just wanted to say that again. It's great working with you each week.
Well, I appreciate it. Hey, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me too. So
it is.
All right, let's move on to some of the stories that we've had come across our news wire for the week. We'll start with all the transactions. Forward Curtis McKenzie, signed a 1-year, $700,000 contract with the Dallas Stars on Friday. McKenzie was in the second season of a 2-year, $1.35 million contract with an average annual value of $675,000 and could have become a restricted free agent July 1. McKenzie has 11 points in 43 games this season. Selected by the Stars in the 6th round of the 2009 NHL Draft, he has 16 points in 82 NHL games. The Stars also signed goaltender Landon Bow to, or is it Bow? B-O-W. To a 2-year entry-level contract. Financial terms were not released. Bo is 7-7 with a 3.17 goals against average and .894 save percentage in 16 games with Texas of the American Hockey League. He also played 21 games with Idaho in the ECHL and is second in that league with a 2.15 goals against average and .933 save percentage. So that looks to me like a couple of guys that they signed to possibly put on the exposed list for the expansion draft. Yeah. Most of these transactions look to me like they signed them in order to expose them.
Yeah.
All right, another Dallas Stars signing. They signed forward Adam Cracknell to a 1-year, $675,000 contract on Wednesday that runs through next season. Cracknell has 10 points and 32 block shots in 53 games with the Stars this season and would have become an unrestricted free agent on July 1. The 7 goals in 53 games played are NHL career highs. He signed a 1-year, 2-way contract with the Stars last July 3rd. He has 37 points in 187 NHL games with the Blues, Jackets, Canucks, Oilers, and Stars in 7 NHL seasons. Forward Tage Thompson signed a 3-year entry-level contract with the St. Louis Blues on Tuesday. Thompson was selected by the Blues with the 26th overall pick in the 2016 NHL Draft. His contract will begin next season when he'll report to Chicago of the American Hockey League. Thompson led the University of Connecticut with 19 goals and 13 assists and 32 points in 34 games in his sophomore season. He had a goal and 4 assists in 7 games to help the U.S. win a 2017 World Junior Championship. Sounds like a pretty good prospect for the Blues. First-round draft pick?
Yeah, and Tage Thompson, he played on Team USA, didn't he?
I think so. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It says right here he had a goal and 4 assists in 7 games.
Yeah. He was very good.
Yeah.
He was
now
in
that you
every
mention
game.
it, I remember seeing him play. Yeah.
So excellent signing by the Blues, and
that's a nice prospect for them. Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'll be in Chicago that long.
Yeah, and that's the Wolves, right? Chicago Wolves
Yes.
in the AHL.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, and the last transaction I have for the week is actually a historic one. Reed Duke has waited patiently for an opportunity to play in the NHL. After making history on Monday, he may now have a chance to make that happen. The Vegas Golden Knights, who begin play next season, made the right wing from Brandon of the Western Hockey League the first player in their history when they signed the 21-year-old to a 3-year entry-level contract. Duke, who's 6 foot even, 192 pounds, was a 6th-round pick of the Minnesota Wild in the 2014 draft, but never signed with them. He skated with the Rangers at the Traverse City Prospects Tournament in Michigan in September and also attended the development camp with the Canadiens. He has 250 points in 306 Western Hockey League games with Lethbridge and Brandon. So kind of a low-level prospect there. So It's kind of low risk, low reward or kind of player, but we'll see if he ends up making it all the way to the NHL. But the Vegas Golden Knights now officially have one player on their roster.
Yes, they do. We can report that as of here on a podcast number 30.
Yep, and I'm sure they may have more soon because as the college teams get eliminated, any players that no longer want to play college are if they haven't been drafted, are eligible to be signed. And you may see Vegas pick up 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's move on to injuries.
All righty.
Tampa Bay Lightning centers Tyler Johnson, Vladislav Namestnikov, and Cedric Paquette are all day-to-day after each was injured in a 4-1 win against the Minnesota Wild on Thursday. They all look bad. Only time will tell. We'll see how that goes, Associate Coach Rick Bowness said to the Lightning website on Friday. Nemestikov was helped off the ice at 3:18 of the second period after Wild forward Zach Parise fell on his leg going for a loose puck. Johnson was helped off the ice at 8:04 of the second after a knee-to-knee hit from Minnesota Wild Nino Niederreiter. And Paquette got tangled with Niederreiter and exited in the third period. So, yeah, and I didn't see those happen, but I had NHL Network on that night, and I saw the highlights of that, and all 3 looked kind of like, all 3 of those made me cringe a little bit when I saw those injuries.
Yeah.
So, and to lose 3 centers, bang, 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 like that must have been scary for everybody with Tampa Bay. So.
And I feel for Tampa Bay too, because they have really had terrible injury problems this year. Almost too many to. I've never seen it so bad. Really, that's really been bad for them.
Yep. All right, well, let's go move on to the next story. Defenseman Toby Enstrom will be out indefinitely because of a concussion. Winnipeg Joe's Paul Maurice said. On Friday, Enstrom was hit from behind by Pittsburgh Penguins forward Tom Sestito at 13:10 of the first period in a 7-4 loss on Wednesday. Enstrom left the game and was taken to a hospital. Enstrom was hit from behind by Pittsburgh Penguins forward Tom Sestito at 13:10. I'm repeating myself now. I don't know why. Sestito was ejected from the game for an illegal check from behind and was suspended for 4 games by the NHL Department of Player Safety on Thursday. I saw the hit. It was pretty bad. So he definitely earned that suspension.
Yeah.
All right. And a Bruins injury. Boston Bruins forward Ryan Spooner is out indefinitely after being diagnosed with a concussion. Spooner was injured in the third period of a 4-2 loss to the Ottawa Senators on Monday. He had 13:32 of ice time prior to leaving the game. The 25-year-old has 34 points in 65 games this season. Spooner has 112 points in 201 NHL games in 5 seasons, all with the Bruins. So he had been playing well, too. It was disappointing to see. He had been playing well before he got hurt. So let's hope he doesn't spend too much time on the sidelines. And finally, Dallas Stars forward Antoine Roussel will miss the rest of the season after injuring his hand in a 5-4 loss to the Islanders on Thursday. Roussel left the game during the first period after blocking a shot by Islanders defenseman Johnny Boychuk. Coach Lindy Ruff said Friday that Roussel would miss 6 to 8 weeks and would not play again this season. He has 27 points in 60 games and 5 points in 5 games before the injury. Over the past 3+ seasons, Roussel missed 9 games and played in 80 games or more in each of the past 3 seasons. So a guy that doesn't get hurt that much. So that must have been a pretty rough injury. Probably a broken hand if it's 6 to 8 weeks, or certainly a bad bruise. Yeah. All right, that's all I had for injuries. Unless you had more. Well, we talked about Henrik Lundqvist already.
We got Henrik, and that was the only other one I had.
Yep. Okay. All right, so we got milestones, records, and honors. And forward Olli Jokinen will sign an honorary contract with the Florida Panthers and announce his retirement from professional hockey on Tuesday. The Panthers will honor Jokinen's accomplishments during the second period of their game against the Rangers. Jokinen, who's 38, played 7 seasons with Florida and was captain from 2003 to 2008. He's first in Panthers history in points, goals, game-winning goals, overtime goals, power play points, and shots. Selected by the LA Kings with the number 3 overall pick in the 97 NHL draft, Jokinen retires with 750 points in 1,231 NHL games with 10 different teams. Wow, I didn't know he played for 10 different teams.
Yes.
He last played in the NHL with the Blues in 2014-15. Yeah, I was when I saw this story, I'm like... it seemed like he'd been out of the game for a while, and as this article says, 2014-15 was his. So that's 2 seasons ago. Was the last time he played. He currently lives in Florida and formed the South Florida Hockey Academy in 2016, along with former Panthers teammates Thomas Vokoun and Radek Dvorak.
Yes. And I believe that, Wayne, that was this past Tuesday. Yes. March 7th.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Which I watched that Florida Panthers game with the New York Rangers. Oh, okay. And he was there present at the game, and he was honored. Yep. And I can't remember, the subject came up, but we were talking about him. The Rangers, he did play with the Rangers for a little stint there as a rental.
Okay.
So he's been around. He was a journeyman there in the end.
Good. Yep. Yeah, and he was a bit of a shootout specialist too, wasn't he? No, I'm thinking of Jussi Jokinen.
Jussi maybe.
Yeah, Jussi was a shootout specialist, but Olli Jokinen was a good player nonetheless. All right, Joe Thornton became the 13th NHL player to reach 1,000 assists with 1 assist on Monday. San Jose Sharks forward assisted on Joe Pavelski's empty net goal with 26 seconds left in the third period of a 3-2 win against the Winnipeg Jets. Thornton has 36 assists in 65 games this season. He got number 999 on February 28th in a 3-1 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but then went 2 games without one. The 37-year-old played 1,432 NHL games and has 715 assists in 900 games with San Jose. He had 285 assists in 532 games with the Boston Bruins. Thornton had an NHL career-high 96 assists back in 2005-2006, the season when he was traded to the Sharks by the Bruins. He had 63 last season, his 8th season with at least 60, and has at least 49 in every full NHL season since the 2002-2003 season. Wayne Gretzky holds the NHL record with 1,963 assists. Ron Francis is second at 1,249. Jágr leads active players with 1,142, and he is 5th in NHL history. Joe Sakic ranks 12th with 1,016. So he's the player that Thornton is catching right now.
Yeah.
And Thornton also has 382 goals to give him 1,382 points, ranking him 23rd in all-time points in NHL history. He was the first overall pick in the 97 NHL draft by the Boston Bruins. So more accolades for Joe Thornton. He's going to end up. He's going to end up being, the modern day Wayne Gretzky, I guess.
I think he will. He is a playmaker.
Yep, very good one too. Some of the passes he makes are insane, for sure. All right, Tampa Bay Lightning right wing Nikita Kucherov, Columbus Blue Jackets goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky, and Montreal Canadiens goaltender Carey Price were named the NHL's 3 stars for the week ending March 5th. Kucherov led the NHL with 5, 4, and 9 points in 4 games to power the Lightning to 3 wins. Bobrovsky turned aside 87 of 88 shots. going 2-0-1 with a 0.33 goals against average and a .989 save percentage, and 2 shutouts to guide the Blue Jackets to 5 out of a possible 8 standing points. Price went 3-0 with a 0.66 goals against average, .974 save percentage, and 1 shutout to propel the Canadiens to a perfect 4-0 week. So 3 huge weeks for 3 players.
Yes.
And scary that Carey Price is getting his game back.
Yeah, just at the wrong time for us.
Yep, for sure. Well, Bobrovsky's also playing very well too. But he has been all year.
And Devin Dubnyk, he might win it and hit there.
Yep.
Devin Dubnyk.
Yeah, it's good. Some good names up for Vezina.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's it for honors, unless you came across some other ones.
No, those were the ones I had. The only other one I can mention as a footnote is that Henrik Lundqvist's win against the Florida Panthers did propel him above the great Grant Fuhrer. He now has 404 wins all time.
Oh, okay.
He's now 10th on the all-time wins list, passing Grant Fuhrer, and is now 3 behind the number 9 player, who is Glenn Hall, the great Glenn Hall.
Yep. All Hall of Famers.
Many years ago. That's right.
He's up in Hall of Fame territory, so
He is.
He'll be a first balloter for sure. All right, let's move on to suspensions and fines, and we had some this week. We had 3 this week. First one, Calgary Flames forward Johnny Gaudreau has been fined $2,000 as a supplementary discipline under NHL Rule 64, which is the diving and embellishment rule. The NHL Rule 64 is designed to bring attention to and more seriously penalize players and teams who repeatedly dive and embellish in an attempt to draw penalties. Gaudreau was issued a warning following an incident flagged by the NHL hockey operations during NHL Game 514 against Vancouver on December 23rd. His second citation, which triggered the $2,000 fine, was issued for an incident at 8:06 of the second period during NHL game number 962 against the Islanders on March 5th. Offsetting minor penalties were assessed on the play to the Islanders forward Josh Ho-Sang for holding and to Gaudreau for embellishment. And another embellishment penalty, LA Kings defenseman Jake Muzzin has been fined $2,000 as a supplementary discipline under the diving and embellishment rule. The Muzzin was issued a warning following an incident flagged by the NHL hockey operations during game number 16 against Philadelphia on October 14th. That was way back. His second citation, which triggered the $2,000 fine, was issued for an incident at 17:41 of the first period during NHL game number 961 against Vancouver on March 4th. Vancouver forward Michael Chaput received a minor penalty for high sticking, nullifying the Canucks power play. You know what makes me wonder on these embellishments? Does the count start over when a new season begins?
Oh.
Or do they or like would these, for the example, these 2 players, Gaudreau and Muzzin, would go into next season having 2, and then if they embellish again, they're at 3.
It's added on. I would think, Wayne, although I don't know, is that is a running tally for your career.
Yeah, it should be.
It just makes sense that it would be.
It should be.
But I could be wrong. I would think that they continue to, because they do that with, when it comes before the player's board, player of personal say,
for dangerous hits, yeah.
Yeah. But
for dangerous plays, for sure.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. And if, by all means, if you know for a fact that it's one way or the other, by all means, give us a holler on all the aforementioned ways to get in touch with us. All right, now the last one I have for suspensions and fines, Pittsburgh Penguins forward Tom Sestito, we talked about it a little bit earlier, was suspended for 4 games without pay for boarding Winnipeg Jets defenseman Toby Enstrom during NHL game number 984 in Winnipeg on Wednesday. The incident occurred at 13:10 of the first period. Sestito was assessed a major penalty for checking from behind and a game misconduct. Under the terms of the collective bargaining agreement and based on his average annual salary, he will forfeit $12,777.76. I know it's just a fraction of his overall total. That's why it comes out to these weird numbers. But anyway,
I think I have 76 cents lying on my desk over there.
Well, maybe you can pay that portion.
Yeah.
But he plays for Pittsburgh, so screw him.
He's
He's on his own. We're not helping him with his 76 cents.
Oh, that was brilliant. Oh.
All right.
Oh.
Let's move on to some other interesting stories that came up this week, and most of them center around the NHL GM meetings that took place this week over in Boca Raton, Florida. So outside of playing golf, they did have a bunch of meetings this week. And the first thing they it probably wasn't the first thing they discussed, but one of the things they discussed was the Olympics. And the story that I found on that reads as follows. It says the NHL was focused on a 2017-18 schedule that does not include the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics, Commissioner Gary Bettman said on Wednesday. That could change if something dramatic happened at some point in time, Commissioner said. With no meetings are scheduled between the NHL and the IOC, the IIHF, or the Players Association. There's absolutely nothing new to report, he said after the general managers met here. I think the overwhelming sentiment of the teams is that it's very disruptive on the season, and there's somewhere between fatigue and negativity on the subject. NHL players have participated in the past 5 Winter Olympics, but over time, the owners have found little to no benefit to shutting down their league and sending their players to someone else's tournament, particularly when the Olympics are overseas. Commissioner Bettman said the NHL would not set a deadline. Asked how the process could move forward, he said, "You have to talk to the other people involved. As things stand now, there is really nothing for us to focus on. We don't have an agreement to go. We're focusing on things in that regard." So that is not good news if you were hoping to see your favorite NHL players playing for your country in the Olympics, because it's not very encouraging that NHL is going to participate this time around.
Yeah, I don't get the feeling they are. I just don't. And I think it'll be good. I think that the World Juniors is doing so well, Wayne. That
yeah, it'd be refreshing to see amateurs play again. I know the last time they had amateurs playing, that was when the University of Maine was at the very height of their powerhouse program, and it was the 1994 Olympics, I think, was the last time that they played with amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
And Maine has sent, I can't remember exactly, it was one player for Canada, that was Paul Correa, and I think they had a total of 6 players playing for the U.S.
Mm-hmm. from
the University of Maine, including both goalies, Garth Snow and Mike Dunham. So I think it'll be refreshing. I guess I'm okay with the fact that we'll have all kinds of hockey to cover then. I mean, we'll have the Olympics going on. We'll be able to talk about that, and we'll have the NHL going on at the same time. There'll be certainly more for us to talk about, that's for sure.
No kidding. No kidding.
So, but yeah, all the college guys, take notice. You might be able to go play for your country over in the Olympics.
That's right.
So, but it sounds like the NHL is very interested in China. That's where the next Winter Olympics is going to be in 2022. So, well, obviously it's a huge market over there. The KHL has taken notice. They've got a team in China now. So,
right.
All right. Also in the GM meetings, the general managers agreed Wednesday to recommend a change to the timeout rule, which is Rule 87 in the NHL rulebook, to the NHL Competition Committee for further review and vetting. The GMs will recommend that the coaches should not be able to call a timeout after their team ices the puck, with the idea that it potentially could force tired players to remain on the ice, which in turn could create an advantage for the opposing team in the offensive zone. The change needs approval from the Competition Committee and the NHL Board of Governors to become official. The GMs understand there could be a player safety issue with forcing tired players to stay on the ice. It's possible that it becomes a point of contention with the NHL Players Association, which has representation on the Competition Committee. Tim Cheveldayoff agreed that coaches tend to preserve their timeout in case they want to issue a coach's challenge. They must be in possession of their timeout to challenge a goal scored on potential offside or goaltender interference of play. So, and I would agree with him on that. Before they were doing the coach's challenge, NHL coaches almost always used their timeout as a way to get their guys rest on an icing when they were gassed.
A lot of times.
You got a team that's gassed and they just, they need to get off the ice. Usually happens in the second period when they got the long change. They just send the puck down, call the timeout, then they can rest their guys enough to at least, be able to survive the onslaught. So this rule would change that and make it so that they can't. But in recent times, since they have the coaches challenge now, coaches are less likely to use their one timeout on an icing play like that because they may need it to challenge a goal. So you don't see it as much.
Wayne, the coach's challenge, if a team, it goes without saying, but you probably laugh me off the show on this one. But if a coach uses a coach's challenge during a game and he is successful, it is a timeout. Because while the referees are chatting it over with Toronto and they're waiting around on the ice it's a timeout. The players are resting. And so it basically he gets an extra timeout if he's successful.
Yeah, because he gets to keep his timeout and while they were reviewing their timing out or they're going over strategies at the bench for sure.
Yeah.
So it is like getting an extra timeout. So yeah, you're right. Yeah. But, it looks like that rule change is going to happen. So should be interesting to see some completely gassed teams. And if their ultimate goal, all these little rule changes, the goal that they're trying to do is create more offense, right?
Right.
I've always had the idea of if you want to give a team an offensive advantage, I've always wanted to see them get rid of being able to ice the puck when you're shorthanded. Don't let them ice it. You want to see some offense, really give the team that's on the power play an advantage, and don't let the shorthanded team ice the puck. Right now, they can ice the puck all they want to kill the penalty. Let's change that. You want offense? Let's change that and make it so you can't ice the puck when you have when you're down a man. I don't know what you think about that one.
That makes the power play much more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really does. I guess you'd have to become an expert at flipping the puck over the heads of the team and having it lay gently on the ice and just that would really change the game.
Or it would make the scoreboard above the ice a target.
Yeah, that's right.
You see players trying to hit the scoreboard.
I have never thought about it that way, Wayne, but that really changed a power play in the NHL.
Yep. I know it's been brought up a couple of times in years past. It wasn't this year, but it's been brought up from time to time in years past, and I would be all for that. That would be fun to watch. So who knows? Maybe somebody listening is got enough clout with the NHL that they could make that happen, but I highly doubt it. All right, let's move on to the next one. The GMs will recommend to the competition committee an adjustment on the location of a faceoff when a team on the power play is guilty of touching the puck with a high stick. The current rule calls for the faceoff to be in the defensive zone. The GMs are recommending to move the faceoff to just outside the attacking blue line. So that's a very small change there. Essentially, what's happened, when you touch the puck with a high stick and you're in the offensive zone, play comes all the way back to your own zone, and they want to just change it to make it just come outside the blue line, and that's it. Right. So not give the shorthanded team the full ice territory advantage. So I'm okay with that one.
Yep.
All right, next one. In response to concerns from the GMs, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said the league will try to schedule the 5-day extended breaks for each team, commonly referred to as bye weeks, into 2 segments next season. So half the teams are off on one week and the other half are off the next. Teams were 10-16-4 in their first game back from the extended breaks in the schedule this season. I can't speak for the Rangers, but I know the Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes did lose their first games back. In fact, Carolina went on a freaking long losing streak coming out of the break.
Yeah, we sputtered when we came out as well. I'm pretty sure we lost the first game. But ours was way back in January, early January.
Yeah, the article continues. 4 teams, the Rangers, Maple Leafs, Canucks, and Sharks, played the first game back from their break against a team also coming off its break. This way, teams that were on the break can play each other first couple of games, Commissioner Bettman said. If this doesn't work any better and we still get the negative feedback that we got, then I think we're going to have to consider getting rid of it altogether. So I guess the feedback the league was getting was teams that went on the break, when they come out of break, they're facing teams that are, have been playing, and they were.
Yeah.
I noticed it, and they were, for the most part, were losing a ton of games. I mean, they're essentially 10-20 if you want to look at it in that sense, coming out of that break. So,
Right.
So what they want to do is they're going to take half the teams in the league, and they will all be on break at the same time, and then the following week, the other half will go on break. And then coming out of the break, the teams that were on break are going to play each other. So that's the change that they're looking at. Yeah, I'm okay with that. It's going to make for a 2-week period in the middle of the season where it's going to have a very light schedule for a couple of weeks.
Yes. Yeah, it will.
So maybe they should coincide that with the Olympics and allow players that are not playing for a week or two to go play for their country. But I don't know.
That's interesting.
Just an idea. All right, so the next one, Cheveldayoff, Tim Cheveldayoff, said the GMs are under the impression that the NHL salary cap for next season will be at or close to the same $73 million as it is this season. Before the decisions really start in June, you get a better idea, and as the numbers start rolling out, you get a better idea. But I think, again, there's a possibility that it could stay flat, Cheveldayoff said. NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly said the cap could rise as much as $3 million if the NHLPA chooses to include a 5% inflator. Daly said concerns expressed from the NHLPA about the amount of escrow taken out of players' contracts, which is tied to the cap figure, could have an effect on that decision. It's all a discussion and negotiation with the Players Association, Commissioner Daly said. So it'll be interesting to see, but they're not expecting the salary cap to rise by too much next year.
Right.
Which will make it hard on teams that are already right up against the cap.
Yep, and there are several.
Yeah, there are quite a few.
Yeah.
All right, NHL general managers on Tuesday discussed the merits of changing the offside rule to potentially allow for fewer overturned goals. But when they dug into the specifics and analyzed the numbers, the consensus was to keep everything status quo. We think offside is working, Edmonton Oilers general manager Peter Chiarelli said. Before reaching that conclusion, the GMs discussed changing the offside rule to allow for a player to be considered onside as long as one of his skates has broken the vertical plane of the blue line, regardless of whether or not it's in contact with the ice. The basis of the offside rule, which dates back to 1929-1930 season, dictates that the player is judged to be onside when either of his skates is in contact with or on his own side of the blue line at the instant the puck completely crosses the leading edge of the blue line. The skate off the ice offside play typically shows up in video review conducted through the coach's challenge. The GMs learned Tuesday that it rarely happens, and even fewer times does it result in the goal being overturned. Through 972 games this season, 29 goals have been challenged because the coach felt the player had his skate off the ice and was offside, according to NHL Hockey Operations. Of those 29 goals, 9 were overturned. There have been approximately 5,700 offside calls this season. I really don't think it's a big deal, Colorado Avalanche GM Joe Sakic said. We have the rule. We've had it forever. In my mind, you don't have to change anything. So no changes to the offside rule.
Which is good.
Yeah, it would make it more, so much, as a referee, it would make it so much more difficult to referee changing it, because your whole mindset for so long has been, skate contact with the ice.
Yep.
And you get players dragging that foot to try to stay onside. You see it all the time. Now
That's
they
right.
would, and of course it introduces a safety issue, and they talked about it in the article. If all they had to do is keep their skate onside, you're going to see guys not dragging their foot on the ice to stay onside, but lifting their leg up and holding their skate back, sticking their leg straight back, which now you've got a rogue skate flying through the air, and as sharp as the NHL players keep their skates, that could be potentially dangerous.
That's right.
So, and that was one thing that was brought up too. All right, and the last story coming out of the GM meetings, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman on Wednesday reaffirmed the league's commitment to keep the Arizona Coyotes in the greater Phoenix area. Commissioner Bettman spoke following the general manager's meeting one day after he sent a letter to the Arizona legislature saying the Coyotes can't be profitable at Gila River Arena in Glendale, and lobbied for the state to pass a partnership bill known as Senate Bill 1149, which would help finance an arena for the Coyotes closer to downtown Phoenix. The Coyotes have been playing in Glendale for 15 seasons, and Commissioner Bettman wrote in his letter that Throughout that time, the team has sustained a consistent economic loss. We're not giving up on the Coyotes in the greater Phoenix area, Commissioner Bettman said Wednesday. The fact that the Coyotes are even having discussions about moving out of Glendale is because the city of Glendale chose to terminate the long-term agreement they had with the team. Had they not terminated that agreement, we wouldn't be having this discussion. The Coyotes are looking at the numerous options that they have in the Valley, and we expect one of them to go to fruition. The purpose of the letter was there is a bill pending, and I believe the city of Glendale was lobbying, saying if the other municipalities, the senators from those municipalities don't approve it, then the team will have to stay in Glendale. That is not going to be the case. The team has got a number of options, and it's going to pursue them, so nobody should think that the team is moving other than out of Glendale. But short term, they're going to stay in Glendale while they're pursuing the options. Commissioner Bettman said it could take a few years for the Coyotes to pursue all of their options for a new home in the greater Phoenix area, but stressed that he believes in the long-term viability of the Coyotes in Arizona. I'm very confident, Commissioner Bettman said. I want to repeat, we have not given up on that market, but we wanted to make clear that the long-term future and viability of that team, the Coyotes, isn't going to be in Glendale. Commissioner Bettman stressed in his letter to the legislature that the construction of a new arena for the Coyotes would not create any financial risk or debt for the state or make use of any existing state tax dollars. He also wrote that a new building would create 300 jobs and $75 million in annual payroll the Coyotes currently provide for the state. In addition, Commissioner Bettman wrote that the construction of the new arena would create 2,500 jobs for 2 years, basically mostly contract or construction jobs, and more than 3,600 jobs associated with the arena operations. He wrote the economic impact would be more than $600 million, nearly double the economic impact the Coyotes already bring the state. I think when the Coyotes get a new arena better situated, I think the team will do very, very well there, better than they have in terms of the tenants and business side. Arizona General Manager John Chaika said that there's a lot of evidence that shows the Coyotes are important to the market and that it's necessary for them to find a long-term solution to stay there. You see Austin Matthews, that type of story, Chaika said, referencing the Toronto Maple Leafs rookie center who's from Scottsdale. Mm-hmm. You just go to youth hockey rinks in Arizona and you know it would be a terrible thing if we left at this point. They've invested a lot of time and effort in that market. I think moving on now would make no sense at all. More uncertainty for Phoenix.
Wayne, I actually read this article and thought, they used to play in that Crooked Stick Arena where the Phoenix Suns play.
Yeah.
The Coyotes played there.
Yep. Yeah, when they first moved there. Yeah.
Right. And that's a team that, that's an area that's more centrally located.
Yep. I know they've looked at going back in there, but I'm not. They're not talking about it, so I'm not sure why they've decided they're not going to go there.
That's my point. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I just don't know why. I guess if we dug deeper into this story, or maybe some Coyotes fans could let us know what's going on there. Better than what we do. We're 3,000 miles away, so we don't really know.
That's right.
We're not local to that area, so we don't really know what's going on.
I feel for them too, because just a few weeks ago, month or two, we were reporting how they were going to build a brand new arena with the Arizona State Sun Devils taking a big part in what was going to happen. And now all of a sudden they pulled out of that deal and the whole thing is scuttled. And so I firmly believe that Phoenix is loaded with NHL interest.
Yep.
Talent.
They got some nice prospects. They sure do.
And so in a school that decided, in the middle of no schools to start a hockey program.
Yep.
So I just think that leaving the desert there would not it'd be leaving a bunch of people high and dry who love the sport of hockey.
Yep.
I hope something works out there for them.
Yep. I hope it does. The fans there deserve it. They've been going through a lot in the last, almost since they moved there, really.
Yeah.
So
true.
All right. Well, let's talk a little expansion draft, shall we?
Let's get into that.
All right. So what we've done, we talked about it a little bit last show, and Steve and I decided that we were going to take a look at, since now we're beyond the trade deadline, so all the 30 teams, the rosters are locked in, at least until the end of the playoffs. And we wanted to take a look to see what the Vegas Golden Knights are going to do with their expansion draft coming up. Now, in June, I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but in late June, and it's, I believe, right before, is it right before or after the amateur draft?
Oh, you got me there.
I think it's right before the draft, right before they draft the 18-year-olds. Vegas will be able to choose 30 players from the existing NHL teams, and the way it works is they essentially will be choosing one player from each team. And with that in mind, each current NHL team gets to protect a number of players. All first and second year pros are exempt, so they won't lose. Existing teams won't lose any prospects that they've got. And there's a pretty complicated scheme of setup on how, players can, obviously players with no trade or no movement contracts will have to be protected by their current team because they have a no movement clause on their contracts. So, but there's a number of rules associated with this that essentially boils down to, you've got essentially 30 teams that can protect as many as 11 players on their current rosters outside of the first and second year pros. Okay. And it breaks down to one goalie and either 7 forwards and 3D or just 8 players in general. That's what the existing teams can protect. Everybody else will be exposed so that Vegas can choose them. So Steve and I went through an exercise this week, and we used this nice utility that is on capfriendly.com that allows you to go through the process of protecting and then drafting and then ultimately viewing your Las Vegas Golden Knights team. So we're going to go down through each of our teams and see what we came up with. Now, with my team is concerned, there were a few assumptions that I took into place. Because obviously this thing can go a number of different directions, and we're probably not even going to be close to hitting the mark here, but we're just having a little fun with this. My assumptions that I use when I picked my team is I made the decision that Vegas will not pick up any unrestricted free agents, guys that are going to be unrestricted free agents or restricted free agents. So I left the free agents alone. I also, when I picked a team, tried to keep the salary cap for them as low as possible so that that left the Vegas team some room to be able to sign some unrestricted free agents this summer. And thirdly, most of the picks that I made were good bang for the buck picks. So meaning good player and a reasonable contract for the team. So I stayed away from overpaid players, essentially, is what I did. Okay. And I'm going to I did like a screen flow, or whatever you want to call it, screen grab of all the picking that I made, and I'm going to hopefully put it up on the YouTube page at some point. It's not up there yet, but anyway, here's the team that I came up with.
Okay.
All right. At forward, from Buffalo, I've got Matt Molson. From Nashville, I've got Colin Wilson. From Anaheim, I've got Jakob Silverberg. From the Rangers, I've got Kevin Hayes. From Colorado, I've got Blake Como. From Minnesota, I got Jason Zucker. From Tampa Bay, I've got Vladislav Namestnikov. From Ottawa, Zach Smith. From Edmonton, Mark Letestu. From Montreal, Paul Byron. From Winnipeg, Adam Lowry. From St. Louis, Dmitry Yaskin. From the Islanders, Shane Prince. And from the Red Wings, Luke Glendening. And on defense, and my team's a little defense heavy. I've got basically the bare minimum on forwards, and I'm heavy on defense.
And that's exactly what I had.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you can't have enough defensemen.
Right, and I picked a bunch of defensemen. So on defense, I've got from Florida, Jason Demers. From Columbus, I've got Jack Johnson. From Boston, I've got Adam McQuaid. New Jersey, Ben Lovejoy. From San Jose, I've got David Schlemko. From Toronto, Martin Marison. From Philadelphia, I've got Brandon Manning. From Chicago, Trevor Van Riemsdyk. From Washington, Taylor Chorney. From Dallas, Greg Paterin. From Carolina, Ryan Murphy.
You picked Ryan Murphy. Okay.
Yep. Reclamation project there. Hoping he'll do better with the new scene. Let's see. From Vancouver, Alex Biega, and from Calgary, Brett Kulak. And in goal, I've got, we'll probably agree on this one, Marc-Andre Fleury from Pittsburgh, and Louis Domingue from Arizona, and Jack Campbell from L.A. I'm sure we at least agree on the first goaltender. No?
I did not pick. I saw it. Maybe I didn't use the application correctly, Wayne. I picked Matt Murray from Pittsburgh.
No, I see Pittsburgh's gonna keep Murray. They're not gonna. Yeah.
So you see, Fleury has an unrestricted. He has a no movement, no trade clause.
He does, and that was the one exception that I had with the no movement clause. That I think Pittsburgh is going to talk him into waiving it to allow him to go. Because if Fleury says screw you guys, I'm not waiving my no trade clause. Pittsburgh's in trouble. They're gonna have to move. They're gonna lose Murray.
I made that assumption.
And that is going to piss off. That's not gonna make friends with Fleury's not gonna make any friends with Pittsburgh fans if he decides to be stubborn and say no, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree with you, Wayne.
I think he'll do the right thing and allow the no movement and allow unless they trade him. Now, to some respect, I think they might be able to do some trades before the expansion draft. Like right after the season ends, before the expansion draft, they might have a trading period right before then. I could be wrong, but they might. But
okay.
But what do you got? I want to hear your team.
Okay. In terms of assumptions, okay, I agree with you. I do not believe I have any unrestricted free agents. But I did pick some restricted free agents.
Okay.
If you go on Cap Friendly, they do have a little section. If the player meets the criteria to be traded during the expansion draft, they are highlighted in green.
Yep. And
so I paid particular attention with each of those teams to try and look at those players that are highlighted in green as players that are potential to be moved during the expansion draft.
Okay.
Also, I went way over the cap because my feeling is they're going to have 30 players.
Yeah, you went best player available.
Right.
Regardless
they're going to
of
have
salary.
Players.
Yep.
They're going to have to do something at the end of that time in order to get the roster down to 22 players or 23 players anyways.
Yep.
And they will make adjustments, I think.
Yeah, my team leaves them $10.5 million short of the salary cap, which gives them plenty of room to sign some really good free agents this summer.
That's very good.
Which I think he's going to do. I think that's what ultimately is going to happen. He's going to hit the free agent market pretty hard.
I was at $78 million.
Yep.
I was over.
He may actually come up way short. He may even go close to the salary because he has to at least go to the salary floor.
You mean George McPhee?
McPhee, yeah.
He
may go just a couple of million above the floor and then really hit the free agent market hard.
Yeah.
But that's a gamble.
I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it as two things. Number one, they're going to have to make adjustments because they're not going to be able to keep 30 players on their roster.
Right.
And number two, the salary cap is probably going to go up now.
Yep.
I hear what they're saying out of these GM meetings, but it goes up every year.
Yeah.
So if it goes up $2 million to $75 million, I'm not over that by that much.
Yep.
So anyways, I'll tell you who mine are.
All right.
And I went right down the list alphabetically. Out of the Anaheim Ducks, defenseman Sami Vatanen. Arizona, Luke Shen, another defenseman.
Okay.
Boston, I said John Michael Lyles, another defenseman.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. Now, my thinking on this one, and I'm not going to make Buffalo fans happy, I picked Evander Kane because of
the off-ice issues.
There you go.
Yep.
I won't say anything else. Left winger. Calgary, I picked TJ Brody, defenseman. Carolina, and I really couldn't, Carolina has protected themselves well for this expansion draft.
Yep.
I looked up and down their roster, and I got to admit to you, I really don't know this guy. But I picked Andre
Nestrasil, yep.
A center.
He's been playing not so much this year, but he played a lot last year for the big club. He's been down in Charlotte most. He started out this year in Carolina, but he's played most of the year down in Charlotte.
If you look at the age of some of these players and et cetera, you can see where some players won't even get chosen And they're good players for their teams, but they really don't have to protect them because Las Vegas would be taking a big risk.
Yep.
Okay, next, Chicago. Andrew Desjardins, center. We agree on Colorado. I picked Blake Como, left winger.
Yep.
Columbus, Ryan Murphy. I think that was also what you picked, the defenseman. Dallas, I picked goalie Kari Lehtinen.
Okay.
He is a big contract. He's a lot of money.
Big contract, but he's towards the tail end of his career too.
He's at the tail end of his career. He may not be around, etc. Detroit, Mike Green. Mike Green.
Wow.
I don't think Detroit. He's $6-something million.
Yep.
31 years old.
Yep.
Knows all about the playoffs. Las Vegas might keep him. He's a good defenseman, and he's playing good this year.
Yeah, he's good offensive defenseman too. Good guy for the power play. Yep.
Oscar Clefborn, Edmonton, defenseman.
Yep.
Florida, Colton Sevier, center. L.A. Kings, they're going to keep, Quickie.
Oh, yeah.
So Ben Bishop's gone. They're going to pick Ben Bishop.
He's a UFA, though, I think.
No, I don't. I unless I'm mistaken, I didn't see that. Quick is, but they'll keep Quick.
See, I went deeper down the depth chart. I got an LA goalie, but I got Jack Campbell.
Okay.
And the reason I went with Domingue Campbell instead of better goalies, because we could have gone Fleury, Bishop, Jimmy Howard, but they're all $5 million apiece, and there's no way in hell McPhee is gonna choose 3 goaltenders with salaries north of $5 million. He'll pick one, and then he's gonna pick a couple of prospects to back him up.
And you're right. I agree with you. As I said, I tried to look at these players in the green.
Yep.
And pick the most likely. Anyways, Minnesota, Chris Stewart.
Okay.
Right wing. Montreal, Jordy Ben, defenseman.
Oh, yeah.
Nashville, Cody McLeod, left winger.
Yep.
New Jersey, John Moore, defenseman.
Yep.
New York Islanders, Brock Nelson, center. Kevin Hayes, New York Rangers, center.
We agreed on that one.
We did. Ottawa, Bobby Ryan, right wing.
Oh.
Philadelphia, Michael Raffle, left winger. Pittsburgh, and I listen. I saw where Fleury not long ago in an article published on NHL.com said, hey, he didn't want to leave. He has no intention of leaving Pittsburgh.
Oh,
he
boy.
intends on staying there.
That's going to be fun to watch.
and that's what I'm saying. I think they got a real problem.
Yep.
I don't think Fleury wants to leave.
Yep.
And the consensus among the Flyers fans is going to be they want Matt Murray. So there's going to be a real. I'm looking to see how this.
Everybody associated with the team wants Matt Murray. He's way younger. He's playing better than Fleury.
Yep.
Yeah, Fleury's on the back nine of his career for sure. They want everybody associated with Pittsburgh, with the exception of Fleury himself, wants Matt Murray to stay in Pittsburgh. But Fleury is holding the cards there, and he could make it tough. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. Sure.
And
is.
Jim Rutherford signed him to this contract. Okay, I mean,
Well, he signed. In his defense, he signed him before Murray came along, so and stole the show. But
listen, it makes sense for me that they will talk Fleury into taking a deal or working it out somehow. That to me, Wayne, your logic makes sense.
Yep.
But if you look at it on paper, Fleury's got that no movement, no trade clause. Okay, San Jose defenseman David Schlemko, we agree on that one.
Yep.
St. Louis, Kyle Brodziak, center. Tampa Bay, right wing, J.T. Brown. Toronto, we agree again. Martin Marinson, defenseman.
Yep.
We agree again on Vancouver, Alex Biega, defenseman.
Oh, wow.
And Washington, right winger, Jay Beagle.
Okay.
That's my team.
One thing's for certain. Your team would definitely beat my team on the ice.
And it would cost a lot more money.
It would cost a lot more money, though. Yeah, yeah. And some of I saw an interview earlier this week with Bob McKenzie on I can't remember what channel it was. It was NBC, I think. It was between periods of a Bruins game that was on NBC Network. And some of the things that Bob McKenzie talked about that George McPhee can do is he could create these little sweetheart deals with certain individual GMs, saying, that a GM could approach McPhee saying, look, I know I cannot protect here's this player I cannot protect, but I really don't want to lose him.
Right.
So would you take a draft pick in return instead of picking that guy and have you pick somebody else? And that is okay. That is allowed.
Really?
Yeah. So that's why I say no matter what we do, something is going to be, it's going to be completely messed up. So I think McPhee may go to that route with a number of teams to I don't know what you want to call it, play ball, I guess, is probably want to,
Yeah.
You got teams. So you may have, like, for example, the Rangers really like Kevin Hayes. They don't want to lose him.
Absolutely.
And, they may approach McPhee and say, look, if you take somebody other than Kevin Hayes, we'll give you a third-round pick. And then you take the other player that whatever. They may agree. They may agree on a player, or they may, that kind of stuff is allowed.
Okay, well, if you looked, I studied the Rangers up and down, okay, and I went again with the players in green that meet the criterion for the expansion draft rules.
Yep.
Okay, it came down to Derek Stepan, Kevin Hayes, Kevin Klein, and I'm trying to remember who the other guy was, but as I look at it, I did not protect Kevin Klein because I figured that a player like Kevin Hayes would be more valuable to the Vegas Golden Knights than Kevin Klein would be. Although Kevin Klein is an excellent defenseman.
Yep. I didn't protect Kevin Klein either, and but I did protect Stepan for sure. And
in the end, that's what I did. I protected Stepan because of his playmaking ability. He's an alternate captain with the Rangers. He has a lot of just a lot of reasons.
He's an overall better player than Kevin Hayes for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, and there was another scenario that he brought up, and I'm trying to think of it now. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, those little side deals like that, and you're going to see other scenarios that'll come up of little side deals that can be made that can sway McPhee from choosing. They can make deals essentially ahead of time. Or McPhee could also go to them and say, look, I'll give you one of my picks.
Yeah.
And, work out a deal that way to try to, so there's a lot that can go on. Or there's another scenario I just thought of. Another team could approach McPhee, and let's say the lottery pans out that Vegas ends up number 4 overall in the first round. They could go to McPhee and say, look, I want that pick, would you accept such and such and, move up in the draft so they can go. So all that stuff can happen, and it probably will happen because McPhee has already said that he's had conversations with a number of GMs already.
Isn't that something?
So that's why I say this whole thing is an exercise in just futility because we just don't know what's going to happen.
That's right. It'll be a lot of late hours for these GM guys.
Yep.
Also, for those of you listening, we did a mock expansion draft, or at least talked about it back in episode 3 of the Hockey Nuts podcast. That was when we used General Fanager.
Yep.
And boy, what a blast that was.
Yep.
But I was sitting here riveted today doing this on the thing and going through this and blah, blah, blah. It is really interesting.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Oh. I could come up with, just changing my assumptions, I can come up with a completely different team for Vegas. So, you could go with strictly, have a case where George McPhee decides, well, he's not going to take any player that has a salary over $2 million. You could come up with that scenario.
Sure you could.
And he could come up with a pretty decent team of prospects in that situation. Now, he probably will draft after I did this. I came up with the idea. I'm like, you know what? He probably will draft restricted free agents because RFAs, he would own the rights to them.
That's right.
And then they would have to negotiate with him for the contract.
That's right.
But I don't see any benefit for the Vegas Golden Knights to go after pending unrestricted free agents.
Right.
The only advantage would be then they would have sole negotiation rights up to July 1st. But after July 1st, that player can go anywhere. So it'd almost be wasting a pick. They may do that with a player here or there, but I would guarantee you if they do draft an unrestricted free agent, it's a player that they've been in contact with.
And they know that they stand a good chance of signing that player. I agree with you.
Right. So you may see that too, but
I don't think it's as big a risk on these restricted free agents, Wayne.
No.
I think they'll pick a number of them, actually.
Yeah, I think they will too. They have to pick at least 20 that are under contract. So the most they could pick is 10 restricted free agents. Or a combination of restricted and unrestricted free agents. The most they can pick is 10.
Yeah. In all fairness to you, I could sit here and talk this expansion draft for a whole show.
Yep.
There's so much involved with it.
There sure is.
But let it be to say that when we did this in episode 3 and in what we did today, there are big changes.
Yep.
Some of the players that we talked about aren't even in. There might be one or two that aren't even playing in the NHL anymore.
And I think the next time we'll do this will be, I would say, probably right after the season ends. We could probably do it again and come up with a different situation.
I'd wager bet you're absolutely right. It'll be completely different.
So we'll do at least one more anyway, right before Vegas drafts, and see how close we are.
Yeah.
With all the news that we know.
It's really fun exercise. Once again, I had a blast doing it.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on then to our next stuff. I got to pull my show notes back up here because I had put them away for a minute. All right. Next thing on my list is the HockeyNuts.com power rankings for the week.
Yes, sir. I've got them.
You've got them.
I've got them for the week, right?
Yes, it's your turn. I didn't update my show notes, but I did see your email on that. So I'll let you go ahead and take the helm.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. But again, I'm picking from the playoffs forward, okay? So I'm going down to Team 16. And anything below that will be in the show notes. But starting at Team 16, I picked the Toronto Maple Leafs, who were 15 last week. They dropped one. At the 15th position, I have the New York Islanders, moving up from number 17. And the Islanders are making some noise. They really want to get in the playoffs. The 14th team is the Nashville Predators, moving down from number 12, although they have been playing well recently. That'll probably change next week. Staying solid at number 13 from last week, the Boston Bruins. Number 12, the Calgary Flames, maybe the hottest team in the NHL right now. Number 11, the Anaheim Ducks. They were 10 last week. By the way, Calgary is 14. They moved up to 12. The Edmonton Oilers moved down one slot from 9 last week to number 10. Moving up 2 slots, the Ottawa Senators, who are playing well as well. They're staying on top, and they've stayed solid in second position. Number 8 is the Montreal Canadiens, staying firm from number 8 last week. Number 7, I have the San Jose Sharks, and they were number 7 last week. Number 6, I have the New York Rangers, and they were number 6 last week. Yep. Number 5, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they were number 3 last week. I had them drop down some. They do have 92 points, but I just see Columbus as being a stronger team right now, and I base that, again, on that last 10 games played.
Yep. Makes sense.
Okay, yep. Number 4, the Chicago Blackhawks. They were number 5 last week. They moved up a slot, again, based on how they're doing in their last 10 games.
Okay.
And this one you might not agree with, but I picked the Minnesota Wild as number 3, dropping one position solely because of how Columbus has played. They now have Columbus has 92 points.
Oh.
They probably got a playoff position locked up.
Yep.
I picked Columbus as number 2, moving up from number 4 with 92 points. And the number 1 team, once again, is the Washington Capitals. So you could have put Minnesota in as number 2 again. You really could have.
Yep. It could go either way. Yeah.
But
well,
that's what I picked.
I don't see anything too crazy in that list.
Yeah. Well.
All right. Well, let's take a peek ahead to see what is going on around the league with our teams in the upcoming week. And actually, it's going to be a short week because we're going to try to record as normal on Wednesday night, which is only 4 days from now. So in the next several days, Boston obviously played, well, I've got it on the future schedule, Philadelphia on the 11th, but that's today. That game's already happened. Bruins won. We move on. So the Bruins' next game is at Vancouver on the 13th. And then they're at Calgary on the 15th and at Edmonton on the 16th. So the Bruins are doing the dreaded Western Canada road swing this week.
Yeah, that is a tough one.
And that's going to be a tough one. If they don't beat Vancouver, they could easily go 0-3 in that swing.
That's a tough one. That is a very tough one.
Yep. We all got to do it, though, don't we?
That's right. Yeah, it's the same for every team.
Yep.
Gosh, you can win 2 of those games, Wayne. You're doing good with the playoffs.
I'll take 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Ooh, so, my hat's off to you.
Yep. Carolina has a busy week coming up. Actually, the entire month is busy for them because they've played fewer games than everybody in the league right now. They've got Toronto today or tonight. They're playing actually right now as we speak. And last I saw, they were tied 2-2 in that game. They're at the Islanders on the 13th, and then they're at home against the Islanders on the 14th. So the old-fashioned home and home right there. And then they're at home against Minnesota on the 16th. So that's a pretty tough schedule. 4 teams that are in the playoff hunt coming and playing Carolina. So Rangers have a light week, though.
We have an extremely light week. We play Detroit tomorrow, NBC game of the week. Then we play on Monday against Tampa Bay, and that's at home in the Garden, which we don't have many home games left. Most of our games for the remainder of the season are on the road. And then the game following that will be after our podcast scheduled for this coming Wednesday. So, but we'll be playing the Florida Panthers
later on in the week.
Later on in the week.
All right. Well, other games that I've got circled on my calendar for the upcoming week, and there's some good ones in here. You've got Canadiens Oilers on the 12th, Wild at Blackhawks on the 12th, Capitals Ducks also on the 12th. So 3 huge games against some, involving really good teams, all on Sunday. Penguins Flames play each other on the 13th, Blues Kings on the 13th. Then on the 14th, the Blackhawks go to Montreal to play the Canadiens. The Wild are in Washington to play the Capitals on the 14th.
That'll be a great game.
Yep, and the Maple Leafs are at the Panthers on the 14th. So in the next 3 days, you've got some huge games coming up. And then on the 15th, that's the Wednesday night rivalry night, you've got the Penguins Flyers again, a rematch of the outdoor game that they just recently played. And then also on the 15th, you got Blues and Ducks. So those are some really good games coming up this week involving a bunch of teams. All right. Well, that's it for NHL talk for now. Let's go ahead and move on to college hockey because there is a ton of news coming out of college hockey.
Yes, sir.
And it all involves around the playoffs. All the conferences are starting their playoffs. Either they're starting them this weekend or they've already started them this weekend. In fact, there's only one conference that doesn't have their playoffs until next weekend, and that's because there's only 6 teams. The Big Ten only has 6 teams in their conference, and they all get together and play each other. They just do their playoffs. I think only 4 teams make the playoffs in that conference out of 6, and they do it all in one weekend. So, so very short playoff for the Big Ten. But all the other conferences, the other 5, because there's 6 conferences in Division I college hockey, the other 5 have either already started their playoffs or are starting them this weekend. And starting with the Atlantic, and pull that one up real quick. The Atlantic Hockey Conference, you have the remaining teams in that conference. You've got Canisius playing Niagara, Robert Morris playing Holy Cross, Air Force playing Bentley, and Army West Point playing Mercyhurst. And those games are all taking place this weekend. In fact, there are 2 game sets, or best of 3 actually. And Game 1 is already played. Game 2s are all tonight. And then Game 3s, if necessary, would be tomorrow. So no sense going over results at the moment. We'll talk about them next weekend as far as who did what. In the ECAC, we have 8 remaining teams. We've got Harvard and Yale playing each other in a nice Ivy League matchup. St. Lawrence and Quinnipiac, Union, Princeton, and Cornell Clarkston are all playing each other this weekend in best of 3 matchups. And if your teams haven't been mentioned, that means they've been eliminated at this point. And in Hockey East, which is where Maine plays, there's 8 teams left remaining, and Maine pretty much got unceremoniously dumped by Vermont out of the basically ended their season. They just got swept by Vermont, and the games weren't even close. So. But Maine lost to Vermont in the first round. So Vermont advances, and their reward is getting to play Boston College in the next round. And then Northeastern plays Boston University. Providence plays Notre Dame. And the upset, New Hampshire Wildcats go in to play UMass Lowell. And those games are all taking place this weekend. And New Hampshire was the 10 seed. They upset number 7 Merrimack in the first round of the playoffs. So... So, and then in Hockey East, of course, the 4 winners of these 4 weekend series advance to Boston next weekend for the Hockey East playoffs, an event that I have attended many a time.
Wow.
Yep, I've been to that been to the Hockey East semifinal and final many, many years.
Wow.
When Maine was going there on a perennial basis, me and a group of friends used to go almost every year to Boston to watch. In fact, the last college hockey game ever to be played at the Boston Garden, we were there that night.
Wow.
So
Really?
yeah, the Hockey East Championship, and I can't remember the year now. Don't have it in front of me, but somewhere obviously it was the last year the Boston Garden, the old Boston Garden was open. So, all right, let's move on to the NCHC. That tournament actually starts this weekend, and there's 8 teams in that conference, and all 8 make the playoffs, of course. So Denver plays Colorado College. That's a nice cross-state rivalry there. North Dakota will play St. Cloud State. Minnesota Duluth plays Miami, Ohio, and Western Michigan plays Omaha this weekend. And, of course, the 4 winners advanced to the semifinal and final next weekend. And finally, the WCHA. For some reason, that one's taking a minute to load. There it is. We've got 10 teams in that conference. 8 make the playoffs. Bemidji State and Northern Michigan played each other. Bowling Green, Ferris State played each other in the first round. Michigan Tech, Lake Superior State played each other. Minnesota State, Alaska played each other. Those games were all last weekend. And advancing to this weekend was Bemidji State and Bowling Green. They're playing each other this weekend. And Michigan Tech and Minnesota State are in the other half of the semifinal. So that tournament is coming right down to it. There'll only be 1 game next weekend in that conference. So they did their playoff format a little bit different. But all 6 conferences determine their conference winners next weekend. Yeah. So that will be, of course, we won't be talking about it, of course, on this Wednesday's podcast. We'll be talking about results of the current weekend's games. It's probably why we're not talking about it now. Well, that and the games are going on as we speak. But we'll talk about who is going to the championship weekends in each of the conferences in our next podcast. And then in the episode 32, we'll be talking NCAA tournament.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And it's very interesting, I tell you. It's so interesting that, I was looking at, for example, the WCHA, and I was like, wait a minute, there's 10 teams in this conference. How come there's only 8? And I guess only two teams don't make the playoffs based on their record.
Right.
The season. There is a second Alaska team. Is it Alaska Anchorage?
Yep. There's
that did
Anchorage
not
and
make,
Fairbanks. Yep.
Yep. Those teams didn't make the playoffs. So.
Yep. So.
Very interesting.
So, yeah, not every conference, some conferences allow every team to make the playoffs, and other conferences decide to do it, where only even up the bracket, so to speak. Only 4 teams out of 6 make it, or 8 teams out of 10, or so on and so on. So, all right, let's quickly go over the USCollegeHockeyOnline.com rankings for the week. And at number 10, Providence, pretty much right where they were last week. Number 9 is Cornell. Number 8 is BU. BU's dropping. I don't know why. Well, they got 10 losses. That's why. Number 7 is Western Michigan. And number 6, Union. Number 5, Minnesota, who also has 10 losses, but they still rank number 5, 22, 10, and 2. Obviously, it's all on who you play. Number 4 is UMass Lowell. Number 3 is Minnesota Duluth. Number 2 is Harvard. And number 1, again this week, is Denver.
The Pioneers.
Yep. And if you want to take a look at the bracketology for the week, I don't think did we look at bracketology last week?
Yes, sir, we did.
We did. Okay. Well, let's update you. Let's see where bracketology lands us this week. All right, this week's bracket. In the East Regional, they've got Air Force against Harvard, Providence against Union. Northeast Regional, you've got BC against Minnesota, Cornell against BU. In the Midwest Regional, you've got Bemidji State against Denver, Penn State against Western Michigan. In the West Regional, you've got Ohio State, Minnesota Duluth, St. Cloud State against UMass Lowell. So in changes for this week, you've got Ohio State in the tournament where they weren't last week, and North Dakota falls out, which, wow, I don't know. I don't remember the last time North Dakota failed to make the NCAA tournament. They're almost there every year.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's all I've got for college hockey, so we can move on to the KHL.
Yes.
And
very
as you know,
goings on there.
Yep, as you know, they are in the middle of their playoffs, and I think last week when we talked about it, the West, because the series were so short, they had already determined who was advancing to the second round. CSKA swept their first series. SKA swept their first series. Dynamo Moscow won in 5 games, and Lokomotiv won in 5 games. And
yes, powerful conference.
Yep, and in the East, wasn't much better. None of these series went 7 games. Metallurg Magnitogorsk won in 5 games. Avangard won in 6 games over Admiral. AK Bars won in 5 games. And Traktor, the only high seed to be eliminated in the first round, they lost in 6 to Berries.
Yep. Berries Astana.
And that was the 5-4 matchup.
That's right.
So so far, their playoffs have been rather predictable, which is probably something that league needs to work on. If the playoffs are that predictable, I mean, that's just my impression. If they're that predictable, there's a bit of a competitive imbalance there in that league.
Could be.
So
I agree.
Now,
my total work this week was on the Eastern Conference semifinals.
Okay.
And I agree with you. The West seems to be a foregone conclusion. It's going to be CSKA and SKA. We might be reporting in a couple weeks, and we got egg on our face.
Yeah.
But it seems to be leading to that.
Well, right now in the West, both series in the second round are tied 1 game apiece. So so who knows?
Who knows? You're right.
Yep.
Avangard's in the West, right?
No, they're in the East.
They're in the East. Okay.
They're playing AK Bars. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wrote in talking along the same lines as you, Wayne. That rival record holders face off in the East. And again, talking strictly about the Eastern Conference and their playoff situation. The Eastern Conference semifinals bring a showdown between the KHL's all-time top scorer, Sergei Mozyakin, and its top-scoring import, Nigel Dawes. Mozyakin, the man with the golden stick following the award he earned for his 1,000th point, will be looking to inspire defending champion Metallurg Magnitogorsk to victory over Dawes' Boris Astana team. And, of course, that team is in Kazakhstan.
Yep.
Boris Astana. For the Kazakhs, it's only the second time the team has progressed past the opening round of the KHL playoffs. But that shouldn't overshadow a big hockey tradition in the Central Asian country. Astana, Kazakhstan's new capital city, is still developing its own hockey reputation, but with crowds of 10,000 or more coming to the playoff games this season, the game is making progress here, and it's been attractive enough to persuade the likes of Dawes, Kevin Dahlman, Brandon Bochinski, and Dustin Boyd to spend several seasons with Boris Astana. The other Eastern semifinal pits Avangard Omsk, winners 4-2 over Admiral Vladivostok, against the Akbars Kazan team in another clash of 2 perennial big hitters. So Avangard is a perennially, they do very well in the KHL. Of course, this is my first season paying attention to it.
Yep.
But Magnitogorsk is going for their 3rd Gagarin Cup in a row, and they look like I'm surprised. I don't know what the standings are in the East as we speak, but I don't think the playoffs got underway until Thursday, the 9th.
In the East, you've got Metallurg Magnitogorsk is up 2-0 against Berries, and AK Bars is up 2-0 against Avangard.
Wow.
And that AK Bars is the 3 seed, and Avangard's the 2 seed in that one. Yeah. So those series seem to have gone one-sided, but in the West, both series are tied at a game apiece. So. Well, good. More fun out of the KHL. I can't wait. Of course, we're assuming that CSKA and SKA are going to advance. That's going to be a fun series to watch. I may even try to watch those games.
Yeah, that will be good.
Yep.
And with Magnitogorsk on the line there too, they got some powerhouse teams lining up.
Yep. So it should be fun the rest of the way. Now that we're down to 8 teams there in the KHL. So, yeah. But yeah, my whole impression of the KHL, like I said before, is there seems to be a definite competitive imbalance in that league, and I'm not sure how the players end up on the teams that they play on, but it just seems that the range of talent from the top teams in the league to the very bottom teams of the league. No, we're talking teams that didn't even make the playoffs. It's a huge upset if one of those lower end teams plays, or beats a top tier team. Whereas in the NHL, any team can win any night. It's
absolutely, yeah.
Because of the way they've got it set up in the NHL, just, is they're trying to make the teams as even as possible in the NHL. But in the KHL, I know there's territorial stuff involved where, certain players end up on certain teams because of where they're from, as evidenced by the teams in Finland and whatnot having a predominantly Finland roster.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's move on then. We are quickly coming down to the end of it. We've got our picks of the week. And I've got a fairly short one, so I'll go ahead and get mine out of the way. And it was kind of an interesting story. I found it on NHL.com by a writer by the name of Daniel O'Leary. The headline was, Penguins fan gives extra ticket to a homeless man.
Yeah.
So the article reads, and it's actually not a very long article, so I can actually read the whole entire article. The world can be a cold place, but last week, one Penguins fan did what he could to bring some warmth to a man down on his luck. Jimmy Maines had an extra ticket to a Penguins Lightning game last Friday. He was looking for a friend to go with him, even posting on Facebook, but didn't get any takers. So he went to PPG Paints Arena by himself, figuring he'd watch his team alone. He was approached outside the stadium by a man named Rob, who asked him for money. I told him that I don't carry any cash, said Maines, but if he wanted to come into the game with me and get out of the cold for a little while, I had an extra ticket. After initially thinking he was being put on, Rob accepted and a friendship began. I don't think it set in with him that we were going to the game until we went through the gate and through the metal detectors, Maines said. He told me he had never been inside that arena, only outside. Maines said that Rob was glued to the game, a 5-2 Penguins win, cheering and yelling for the home team. He posted a selfie of the two of them at the game on Facebook, and the image went viral. During the anthem, he stood there and sang every word, Maines said. He was yelling and cheering the whole game. It was just great to see a guy who's obviously a little down on his luck so happy. During breaks, the two men chatted about life over concession stand chicken fingers. Rob told him that he was close to a new job and looking for help with some expenses. The two exchanged contact information. My parents always taught me to treat everyone how you want to be treated, said Maines, a newly minted police officer in Rankin, PA, within 1 month on the job and a former volunteer firefighter. And if you have the opportunity to help someone, you do it. Just because someone's out on the street doesn't make you better than any of them, or doesn't make you any better than them.
That's right.
I posted the picture on Facebook just because there's so much negativity on there now, and this was a positive, Maines said. He told me I made his life just by being nice to him.
I'm going to have to wait a minute. That was a really good one.
Yep.
God bless him. God bless him. Thank you for that one, I tell you. That was really good. I had not read that article. I wasn't aware of that. So, yeah, good, Wayne. Appreciate it.
Yep, great story.
That was very good. Very good. My pick of the week is kind of silly in comparison. my pick of the week is about Alex Ovechkin delivering pizzas to shock Capitals fans. Pales in comparison, but the article goes, did someone order one of the NHL's premier goal scorers or a pizza? Washington Capitals forward Alex Ovechkin delivered something other than goals, assists, and wins as he teamed up with Papa John's to be a rookie delivery driver, which I think Alex Ovechkin actually wanted to be a pizza delivery guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure to do it for a living, but he had as a fantasy, it's something to do, you know. It was part of Papa John's Ovechkin Wish Special that the chain ran. Customers who ordered the special on Friday were entered in a sweepstakes to have the All-Star personally deliver their pizza, while $1 from each order went to the Mid-Atlantic chapter of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Ovechkin made some pizzas himself, then surprised 3 households with pies. The first household couldn't have been more excited and happy to see Ovechkin at the door. But the one who ordered the Ovechkin Wish Special at the second house told the Star, "I don't do sports."
Oh, my God.
I actually went on YouTube and I looked at these 3 deliveries, okay?
Why would he put that promo code in there if he didn't want to be entered in the sweepstakes?
Honestly, the woman wanted $1 off. That's all I can think, because she had no clue who Alex Ovechkin was. He came to the door and he said, "Hi," and she said, "I don't do sports, so I don't know who you are."
Oh my God!
And he goes, "It's a good thing you don't." Ovechkin joked. He said, "It's a good thing that she didn't know. She didn't do sports." And so at the end of that, she texted a friend of hers and said, "I know who he is now, but I didn't know who he was when she opened the door." So amazing, actually. But finally, ending the route on a high note, he went to the third house. And again, it features a big reaction. He signed one of the little kids' jerseys. It was just very exciting, happy atmosphere. You should watch the video on YouTube. It's pretty neat.
I should. They should have found time to go to a fourth house, knowing that second one didn't. that must have made all the Washington fans mad, knowing that there was somebody out there that got a hand-delivered pizza from Alex Ovechkin and thought he was just another delivery kid.
Didn't know who he was.
Wow.
If you go to YouTube, that's the truth. She didn't know. I believe it. She had no clue who he was.
I can't believe that she got entered into that in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It just shows people who do anything to save a buck. Like for example, in the job that I have over, at a grocery store, I'll have people that will wait 30 minutes to get an item. I've had it before. Like we do in our store, we do like hot foods, right? And at certain times of the day, if the food's been out there a while, it gets marked down. We put a $1 coupon on it, right? I've seen people stand around and wait for that markdown time to come.
I believe it.
They'll come. I'll go out to mark stuff down, and they'll be, "Oh yeah, I've been kind of hanging around the store hoping you'd come out to to mark stuff down." I'm like, you're gonna waste 30 minutes of your time waiting around to save $1? Seriously?
Oh man, I'm telling you.
So I guess it goes to show you, people will do anything to save a buck. I guess
they will. I agree with you,
including in ordering a pizza, thinking that that blows me away.
Despite the success, it would be hard to imagine Ovechkin leaving his daytime job anytime soon. Yep. So I wanted to throw that last paragraph in, for sure. But he did make some of those pizzas too. So. But it was really good. Yeah, go on YouTube and watch the video if you have time. It's really good.
Will do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that pretty much ends it for us this week. And wow, we've had a long one this week.
Oh man.
But anyway, there was a lot to cover. So hopefully you don't mind the long-windedness of our podcast this week. But anyway. As a reminder of the show, next week's scheduled recording is on Wednesday the 15th, right?
That's correct.
At 6:30 p.m. Again, we're going to attempt to live stream it. I don't know why it didn't work tonight, but we're going to attempt to live stream it if anyone wants to watch. But if you want to get in touch with the show between now and then, you can get in touch with us through Twitter I'm Wayne Halley 9. Steve is sball504man. You can email the show at feedback@thehockeynuts.com. You can voicemail us at 919-960-1718. Our Facebook page is at facebook.com/thehockeynuts. Our YouTube channel is at thehockeynuts.com/YouTube. And, of course, once again, you can find us on all the major podcast apps out there, including iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Play Music, the Android and Apple podcast apps. Once again, I include the RSS feed in the show notes. So if you want to just use your favorite podcatcher to get it, you can use our RSS feed and subscribe that way. You can actually listen to and or watch the podcast on our website at thehockeynuts.com. And finally, we also on the Hockey Writers .com under their podcast channel app. So that's another great site for hockey content other than the mainstream media sites. So another site that we use. Very, very good writers over there at thehockeywriters.com. So and other than that, unless you have anything else, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the week.
No, that's good. I did not have anything else. It's exceptional show, though. I had a blast doing the preparation for this show and working with you, Wayne. once again, a lot of fun.
Yeah,
fun.
It seems like they're getting better and better as the season goes on, aren't they?
It sure is.
Maybe it's because the hockey's getting better and better.
I agree. And we got the playoffs and all kinds of exciting stuff going on.
Yeah, so next week, we'll be talking more about the playoff races. What else we got coming on over the next week? Obviously, the NCAA, we're going to expand our coverage of that as they head into their NCAA tournaments. We've got other leagues that have playoffs coming up. We'll probably touch on those a little bit. We've got a lot coming up, so don't miss the next episode of the Hockey Nuts. And you definitely want to subscribe in whatever way you can. So, and of course, if you want to support us financially, we have our affiliate links as well at Amazon and at hockeymonkey.com. And you just reach those links by going to our website at thehockeynuts.com. And you can click on the links there. And any purchases you make, a little cut will go back to us. And it doesn't cost you a dime extra. So we appreciate all the folks who have already done that for us. We've had a few. And we appreciate those that have so far. And we thank you if you go ahead and consider us in your future Amazon purchases. And also, we are still working on a direct way to financially support us, and we will have details as those come out. So, and other than that, until then, we will see you next week, Steve.
Take care, Wayne. Good work.
Have a good week.